So before we get started, I got to ask you. You brought up Glenn Ross, one of my favorite sales movies. I have another all-time favorite that very few people ever talk about, but it was so important to me back in the day selling Tin Men.
Oh yes,
You
Danny
remember Tin Men?
DeVito. Was it Danny DeVito and Richard Dreyfuss?
Yeah, those were the two central characters.
Never seen
Absolutely.
it.
Very good. They did a bit, and I loved it. I did a whole training session around it. And unfortunately, it's probably what gives sales a bad name. But do you remember the Life magazine bit?
No,
It's one of my favorite bits of all time. So
tell me.
they're having a tough day, and Richard Dreyfuss says to Danny DeVito, "Something, let's do the Life magazine thing. That always cheers me up." So the movie's set back in, I don't know, the late 40s or 50s. Aluminum siding is exploding. So they pull up in front of this home that doesn't have aluminum siding, and they put up all this photography equipment, and they're
Oh,
taking as if they're doing a shot of the home, and they're patiently waiting for the housewife to come out, which she ultimately does. She comes out and she says, "What are you doing?" And they're like, "Oh, well, we're doing a front cover, huge story for Life magazine, and we need a home to be the before photo." And she says, "What do you mean the before? Well, look at your, you don't have the beautiful aluminum siding that's out there. With the stories on aluminum siding, we're trying to show what a home looks like before it gets aluminum siding, and this was back when Life magazine was the magazine, right? And she's like, "Well, I want to be on the cover of Life magazine. Can't we be the after?" And they're like, "Well, maybe if you had aluminum siding." And then Richard Dreyfuss looks at us, "Could we even get that done quick enough for them?" And they're aluminum siding salesmen. At the end of the day, they come back, they meet with their husband. The husband's frowning over the cost of aluminum siding, and the wife looks at him and says, "But honey, it's Life magazine." And to me, that was, getting your prospect to be so excited about what you can offer and the value, then price is immaterial at that point, right? The husband had no choice. His wife wanted to be in Life magazine. The purchase was done, and that's one of my favorite clips
no
ever.
buyer's remorse there.
Well, maybe when they actually weren't on Life magazine cover,
Yeah.
but we never get to see that part. But
Well, one of the other mutually beneficial agreements of the system is also contained in the S4 formula, and that's I for it's called quick selling, and the I is there a budget? Excuse me.
I'm not going to edit that
How
one.
real? How real? And it's not meant. It's meant again to remind you, the salesperson, that this is a question that could be asked, because once you've set up your agreements, you want to be able to say to them, and there probably is going to come a time when, after we find out what your issue is, where we're going to have to at least discuss ballpark what type of dollars you have set aside to make this happen. And I just want to make sure when we get to that point, you'll be comfortable in sharing that information. Once again, just ballpark. And you get that agreement from them up in the beginning, because what that does is, once you've then gone through your doctor's appointment, you're able to say to them, well, this is what I see you need, this is what I see you need, and this is what I see you need. Remember, I mentioned we have to talk about budget while we're there. What type of dollars have you set aside in order to make this happen? And they tell you, because at that point, after doing the discovery, the diagnostics, they're at that point where maybe not where the woman was about, but honey, it's Life magazine, because they have said it themselves. They have told you why they need it and what the value is. And one of your questions is, well, what'll happen if you just, don't get this? I mean, how would that affect your life and everything? And allow them to talk, because and this is, to me, one of the most important tips that I can offer. And that is, when you say it, it's selling. When they say it, it's true. So you
Say that
want it.
again. That's I
When
love
you
that.
say it, it's selling. When they say it, it's true. Because no matter what you say, no matter how much of a problem solving navigator you are, when it comes out of your mouth, it's coming from someone else. But if you ask, well, why would you even want this? And they go, because of da da da, that's the truth. And once that's why it's so important to get information rather than give it. Because if you ask a curious, authentic question, once people realize that you're there to solve their problem and not yours, their defenses drop. And instead of zapping back at you every time you say something, you're going, yeah, yeah, well, what do you got? Just show me. You've already told them, look, you've told me that these are the issues you're facing. And they go, yeah, I really am. And they either have the budget or they don't. But each step along the way, you're you're just trying to get out of there rather than causing someone to buy. And again, they'll trust you in the future.
And to me, that approach, you're the whole time they're talking and they're giving you their pain points, their solution, their diagnosis, you're building up respect and trust with them the more speaking that they're doing. They're just feeling as you're listening and you're taking in what they're saying, you're building up a respect and a trust. And then they're going to want to share with you their budget because they're hoping that you're going to have a solution for them. So,
Yeah.
that's such an important part of it. And to me, it's so many people think selling is just finding out what the client needs. You got to find out what they need, you got to find out what they want, and you better find out what they can afford.
And
Because
what
if
type of
you can't
time
afford it,
frame they need to make it happen, and what else have they tried, what went wrong with that you're looking for a new product right now, to be able to have that flexibility, to be able to move and ask the right question. That's where the practice comes in. I have lists and lists of open-ended questions in the action guide, and have had some of my clients, as a matter of fact, a lot of them, just tape it up on front of the wall when they're doing either phone calling, or I'm going to let out one of the secrets of the system. One of the things that you do is when you get in and talk to a prospect, you ask permission to take notes. Not only is the request usually accepted, but one of the things that I tell people to do is take in what I call the quick sheet, which has everything that you've researched and thought of before you went in there in your notes, including the questions you want to ask. And when they tell you what one of their issues or problems are, you jot it down. And you have everything right in front of you, including a reminder that says, here's the order you're supposed to go in. And it's on a piece of paper the size of a napkin, because you just want to stay on track and maintain your outcome. And if you're clear when you go in that your goal was to disqualify them if they're not a sale, once you get past that, you follow through with the system. And as with every good at bat, you're going to hit a home run or not. This system is designed to work 100% of the time. And it doesn't, but it will increase your close ratio. And I'm really not only confident in it, but when you listen to the podcast, you'll hear, as I mentioned, clients from over the years going, yeah, I'm still using it. It's made a big difference with my wife or my husband. And it really is. It's just a fun shift in your language and how you communicate with people. I'm very proud of it.
good. I would encourage anybody listening right now to sit down and say, have you ever gotten in your car or hung up the phone in your office and suddenly remembered, I never asked this. I I didn't bring this up. I missed an opportunity. We all are going to second guess. The more prepared you are using a system like that, it's going to take a lot of that second guessing out because they're properly prepared when they start.
Write it
So,
down. It's just a note, just something to remind you. I mean, you even say to the prospect, I hope you don't mind, I'm going to refer to my notes. I jot down a couple things so I wouldn't forget. Be authentic about it. That's exactly why you did it. You're not, you're not play acting. You wrote it down so you could remember it. Say it.
And
I mean, that's where the
shows you
authentic.
care. It also shows you care enough and you're interested to write down some of what they're telling you. It's a great way to get that across.
It's. I know I said it before, but it's easier.
So I get the impression there's an easier way to sell.
Yes, I think that's it.
So,
The easier way to sell.
so
Yeah,
he-
that's my branding. It's the easier way to sell.
the easier way to sell and to close the deal without selling.
That's the
Um,
podcast.
our,
Yes.
our listeners have a couple options. One, they can stay tuned and hope we have you on again in a couple months and they get a little bit more. My encouraging to them would be to download your podcast and do what I did, binge watch, binge listen to about 10 or 12 episodes. You're nice and brief. You're very concise. These aren't 70-minute episodes. You give everybody stuff in bite-sized pieces, which I think is perfect for learning. But I know you're also working on a course and things like that. Can you share the listeners what you have going on with that and how they can reach out to you if they have an interest?
Thank you. First of all, the website is closethedealwithoutselling.com, or you can also reach us at sellandmarketbetter.com. And when you get there, there'll be a link to the podcast, including down at the bottom of the page, a link to your favorite podcast provider, whether it's Apple or Stitcher or Spotify. We're on all of them, and we would love your feedback and comments on those sites. Also, when you get to the website, you'll hear me in one of the little videos talking about the Close the Deal Without Selling action guide and teaching manual. Now, my mission statement for my consulting business and my company has been to be the cause of effective communication in the world. And as I mentioned before, this whole system is about being a more effective communicator. And I cannot be the cause that I wanted to be all by myself anymore. And I'm looking for people who might be interested as part of their business to teach the easier way to sell. And I've made it super simple for someone to take on that responsibility. If you end up getting our action guide and training manual, you basically are saying, I am considering doing this. And if you start teaching it, all I ask is that each one of your clients also get one of the training manuals from the website. That's it. I really want people to take this on as a more effective way of communicating and make the world a kinder and safer place for salespeople.
Fantastic. I love your message. I love your program that you're putting into place. There are programs people could sign up and spend thousands of dollars that I guarantee them they're not going to get out of what they're going to get out of your action guide and your program there that you put in place. So hopefully a few listeners.
This was depending upon the year, between $4,000 and $6,000 for 2 or 3 day workshop, and then coaching for the exact same material you get for free on the podcast. And there's so much good stuff. And I invite you all to check it out. As they used to say, it couldn't hurt.
We might as well give it a try.
The old college try.
There you go. Ike, it has been a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us. I would encourage people as well to follow you on LinkedIn. You have some cool videos you put out, a lot of content and things like that, which are great. And absolutely, if you're willing, I'd love to have you back, maybe right after the Super Bowl, after the Browns win the Super Bowl.
Oh, man. Well, I think that's wonderful. The last time the Cleveland Indians won the World Series was the year I was born. And the last time they came within 1 out of winning the series was in the year I turned 50. And they blew it then. And the Browns haven't done anything. So now I've shifted to while I'm still on this earth, I need one of you to win. Go Browns, go Indians, or as we now call them, the tribe. And my Buckeyes and the Dodgers, whew, they're doing fine.
Yeah, you're okay there. All right, Ike, have a great day.
Thomas, thank you so much for inviting me. And I want to acknowledge you for what you're doing and urge all of your clients and your listeners to really keep tuned into what you're sharing. I've listened to your podcast up to now, different points of view, all of them good points of view. So, once again, thank you for giving me the opportunity to share some information with your listeners.
All right, thank you.